What's up, guys? This is Dave from The Disorderly. I'm joined once again by Mr. Andrew Volpe. We're discussing a movie that he's pretty thrilled about. Like, we've been looking forward to it for a long time. Big fans of Mr. Eggers, Mr. Robert Eggers, the director from the kind of crazy 2015 movie The Witch. His first movie, for a first movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? For a first film.
Remarkably self-assured and very, detail-oriented. And, I felt like there was a lot of that in this as well, though kind of applied in a different way.
We'll get into it. I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't, spoilers ahead. Spoilers. As always, spoilers. Yeah. Screw the innocent.
Yeah, the plot of this movie is basically a spoiler because it's best to kind of just go into this movie not knowing anything at all.
I tried to kind of not know plot wise. I always like to hear how they made it. You know what I mean? And they went weird with the aspect ratio and all that interesting stuff. Did it work for you, the black and white and the aspect ratio and all that?
Yeah, like at first, I was wondering if I was going to be really distracted by it, but I think the movie in general, much like The Witch, it's a movie that you really need to just watch and have build a mood, and the way that each scene kind of slowly ratchets the tension up and kind of just keeps you in this world. I think you kind of all the other elements kind of work either in tandem with everything else really well to kind of suck you in, or you just don't notice it. You don't notice any artifice as much. I felt like I was really living stuck on this shitty island in this horrible place with these two insane people.
Well, it's weird because just to kind of go into it a little bit, it sounds like, just you're trying to figure out where it is. There is no, I guess there's no precise location where the movie is supposed to be set.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of, Robert Pattinson has a very kind of I was hearing somewhere, really New England kind of accent a little bit, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking somewhere in there, which would certainly make sense. And then they were talking about Canada, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure, but I think that would make sense, and I think that's kind of where Robert Eggers is from originally, so I was wondering if he's I think he's more familiar with kind of folk history and shit like that from that sort of area. But I know they filmed it in Canada,
Nova Scotia, I think.
Nova Scotia, yeah. So, I suppose that area could be there too. But this is a movie that's just filled with vagaries, and I think I watched an interview with Eggers yesterday, and he even was coming out and saying this is a movie that's meant to raise questions and not give you answers. I don't think they had it's not supposed to have any super specific spot in mind, though I assume they're part of the the British Navy, the American Navy, they're,
I would think American, but it's Willem Dafoe. I'm not quite clear, and it was. I think I think it's supposed to take place in 1890.
Yeah.
But I was like, were you a pirate, sir? You know what I mean? Well, you sound like a goddamn pirate.
He sounds like the fucking sea captain from The Simpsons.
The Simpsons.
100%.
Yeah. And I don't want anyone to mistake. I honestly didn't really care for the film. I loved Willem Dafoe. I thought he could go give him the Oscar if you want. I don't care. Great performances in movies I don't really care about. I can put the two aside,
Yeah.
I didn't love it, but I thought they were both great in it. You know what I mean? But Willem Dafoe with the dirt in his mouth, giving out his crazy speeches and stuff. Holy shit!
Fucking dancing naked in front of a lighthouse beam and whatever, dressed up like Poseidon and all that shit.
Well, there you go. So you want to get into some of the weird theories, because I was a little upset that there wasn't a little bit more kind of
fleshed out.
Yeah, what am I watching? A Eraserhead or something? You know what I mean? I want to know a little bit.
Think of Eraser. Well, and that's the thing is I appreciate. I liked it's a not very commercial movie at all. So
Oh
like,
no, but
yeah,
that's what's so crazy is that it's been pretty heavily marketed, and it's getting good reviews. But I was like, who is this movie for?
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's some midnight movie shit for sure, and it's not it's not gonna be like
This is not a date movie. Like,
yeah, you don't bring
don't take your
mom
best
to
gal
watch
out to this
or
one.
something.
I did. I took my best gal. She fucking fell asleep.
yeah, yeah.
I was poking Ash. At one point, Ash fell asleep. We went to a 9:40 movie. That was all we could do. We went to the AMC dine-in. We're drinking like we're trying to stay awake. We're exhausted. We get food. We have like a Coke, like sugar. So like we don't drink a ton of soda. So like this was like, hey man, like let's get some sugar in us.
Right.
And she still fell asleep, dude. She just the weird crazy tenseness and stuff wasn't enough. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
And I just let her sleep. You know what I mean? I was like, it's all right. I'll just
it's like
I'll try to explain what happened when you wake up.
I'll give you the bullet points later. There's no point otherwise.
You missed him jerking off to the mermaid, whatever it's called. Nope. Did she see that? Nope. She's just waved at me saying she did not miss that part. But
it's about what you think it would be. Well, that's the other thing is like that was kind of what I was expecting a little bit too. Like just especially based on Egger's previous work. I wasn't expecting. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but like weird and vague, definitely. Like it definitely delivered in that front, and especially towards the end when like I think like they start going really crazy. I did appreciate the way that built there was a bunch of times where I was thinking, you know how like when you're watching a movie and you're like, like you see something that's a visual cue to the audience, and even though the movie is signaling that, like the movie is like the characters take a second to catch up with you or whatever, but in this movie I felt like the movie like was always kind of on pace with me or ahead of me. Like there's a scene towards the end where there's an axe that's embedded in a table, like you see in an earlier scene, like the axe is in the table and it's established there, and then a couple scenes later they go back to that room, one of the characters, and sits by the table and the axe is gone, and like as soon as I think like, oh shit, the axe is gone, boom, there's William Dafoe popping out of the corner with an axe. Like I thought like it's and same thing, it's like a mood piece, so I think I think things like that, like it has to catch you at the right moment and everything, like the conditions have to be right, but it worked for me that time. And it it had a lot of like a lot of the imagery in this, like I like really, even though I've only seen it once, it like felt like it's stuck pretty clearly in my head or whatever. Like I really love that shot of him pulling up the fishing trap,
the lobster trap or whatever.
Yeah, and it's got the dude's head in it, and there's just a bunch of stuff in it that I wasn't expecting. Like I was laughing throughout a lot of the movie, and I kind of wasn't expecting, like I didn't once again I didn't know what I was expecting, but it seemed like this would be just like a dreary, disgusting movie or whatever, and it like I kind of like they kind of had a weird odd couple dynamic going on sometimes, and especially when they're both like getting crazy drunk together. Like I just thought it was like kind of hilarious at times.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because a few things like didn't really make sense to me, didn't really work for me. I could understand, like Robert Pattinson, Wilhelm, right? Okay, so he's new, he's a greenhorn, right? He's a rookie out there. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I could understand him kind of going insane, you know what I mean, and getting kind of like the weird kind of like cabin fever and the methodical work and like the weird shifts and stuff, you know what I mean? I could certainly understand like why he would start going insane, but why would a seasoned vet like Willem Dafoe start losing his marbles, you know what I mean? Just because they missed their boat, like the resupply was a little bit off, You You know what I mean? He's probably seen worse. He's hobbling around. He's got a goddamn peg leg.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He starts losing it over that.
Well, he seemed like he was fucking crazy from the get go.
Yeah, but he's just medicating himself with alcohol. He's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, even Pattinson is like making fun of him for being like a parody of a sailor sometimes, and it's like, like clearly there's supposed to be more of an equal division of the workload than there currently is, because it's like fucking Dafoe's just getting drunk and jerking off in front of a lighthouse the whole day. Well,
I mean, how he unwinds is his own business. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? So I was thinking, like I'm watching that. I'm like, is that happening, or is he imagining it, or is he projecting some sort of insane like idolization towards the lighthouse that he thinks it's some, because Willem Dafoe kind of like when Pattinson asks what happened to the last guy, he goes, yeah, he fucking died. And he was crazy. He thought the lighthouse was some kind of magical being that the divinity is hidden inside and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
So he kind of like plants the seeds for that. So it's like, did he do it? Did he do it himself? Did any of it kind of happen? You know what I mean? Is he that?
Yeah, like a lot of it could be in Pattinson's head or whatever, right? And
I started going down my time. I was like, is Willem Dafoe even in this movie?
yeah, I mean, it could.
You know what I
be,
mean? Like, I was like, is he just by himself on this fucking island? Because
that's actually a good point, because he would be doing almost the same amount of duties, and I thought there was some significance to the fact that, Pattinson says that his name is Ephraim or whatever, or Winslow at first, but then it's revealed like 2/3 of the way through the movie that his real name, just like William Dafoe, is also Thomas. So they're kind of similar, and like, so that kind of like plays into like, oh shit, this could be like one of those like persona, like psychological thrillers where he's like, in your head or something like that. Like logistically that it doesn't entirely work out, but I do.
Well, if you were alone on an island, maybe you invent someone that you take orders from, and that's why you're doing it. You invent this person that bosses you around, and you can get drunk with, and you're dancing with. You know what I mean? Who knows?
Spots where the logic does, like, there's the part where William Dafoe's like hanging Pattinson out of the tower so he can paint the side of the wall. Like, there's a few things, like, I wonder if it's more of like a thematic significance, like they're similar people, or maybe this could be Pattinson down the line or something, or they clearly both are liars and have things to hide from their past or whatever.
Right.
So,
right. There were weird things that I didn't really understand, like when he runs in, one of his first early run-ins with the seagull, and then Willem Dafoe mentions it. I saw you sparring with a gull out there. It's bad fucking luck to kill a seabird dog. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
What are you thinking? And can we talk about the seagulls for a second?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, nothing will ever come close to Black Phillip in my book. You know what I mean? But if this is like a running theme in Eggers' movies,
have some creepy animal in each one.
Because seagulls are diabolical. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
like they swoop down. They come from the sky. They shit on you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I live in Southern California. We go to the beach. Seagulls will rip a sandwich right out of your goddamn hands. Just dive bomb you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's wild. I was listening to him talk about it. He's like, they had trained seagulls.
Wow.
And I just assumed it was just. Just take some video of a seagull pissed off. Like, I'd go do that. Give me 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right, but they have like specific seagulls that will act and like do
trained gulls.
Wow.
How do you train a seagull?
Well, so I assume the seagull with the one eye was real, right? Like, I don't think they like slapped
I don't know.
up on a seagull, right?
I do. Well, he talked about there was 3 different gulls that they trained, but I don't know if they were all portraying the same.
Oh, same gull or whatever.
Yeah, one was like Lady Tramp. Johnny was one. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the names. Wow. But you know how like Church had 7 cats that played just Church. So I'm not clear if the gulls were different characters themselves.
I'm sure there's some that like look good from certain angles, or like you have the thing where it's like if it's moving around a lot, you shoot it from behind and use a certain gull, and then you.
And then Pattinson did admit, he's like, I didn't have any because someone asked him how was it working with the seagulls, and he goes, I didn't. The only thing I did was
I didn't actually
fuck up a rubber chicken. Yeah, he's like, I was not around those damn birds.
They
and you see Eggers and he are getting interviewed together, and you can see Eggers is pissed that he said that. He was like, "Oh, dude, don't
ruin
don't ruin it." Yeah, like he was kind of upset that like you could tell him like he just shrunk down in his seat a little bit, where he was like, "Shit," because the interviewer was like, "Oh, it was just editing," and Pattinson's like, "All I did was throw around that rubber chicken thing. That, you know what I mean? Just beat that thing to death."
And you could just see the magic leaving Eggers' eyes or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, and because he talked about it too, where he was like, I want everything in the film to be authentic, and I want it to be real.
Right.
Like I want the floorboards to be real. I want everything. And he's like, that kind of affects like what you can do.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, it's two guys in one place because that's kind of all we could kind of afford. You know what I mean? So it's a weird thing that he's like, he'd rather have an authentic,
so like a smaller location that he can have more control over.
Right. But it's like, at what expense, dude? Are we, you know what I mean? Like, what if they go, hey, do you want to make Akira? You know what I mean? Would he be like,
Yeah,
not that
I
he
feel
would,
like
but
he
it's
would.
like how would he possibly do it?
Oh yeah, I don't think. Well, he has hinted at that he would be fine doing bigger projects, but I can't picture him like he's going to be doing weird little movies with a cast of like 5 characters for a big part of his oeuvre. I think like he seems like way too detail oriented and obsessed with like these intimate relationships to like I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but I have a hard time picturing him doing something on such a big scale later on, and yeah, like I can't picture him doing anything that isn't like historical in some way, like I can't picture him doing like a future thing or something like that. He seemed like it was strange because like until I saw an interview with him, like I was assuming that he was gonna be some sort of like really like gravel voiced gothy looking British dude, and he's just like some normal like dude in his early 30s, very like affable seeming or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's like Ari Aster, doesn't seem like he's the master of horror or something, you know what I mean? They just kind of seem like dudes.
Yeah, just regular,
you know what I mean?
dudes.
So they're not like, who are the sisters, who are like the twin sisters that are like,
the horror directors,
Queen of the Damned, or whatever but their whole thing is like look how crazy we are. Yeah, you know what I mean? These guys are like, nah.
Well, I think it's also I've never seen those chicks' movies ever, so I can't comment on their quality, but sometimes it's like you don't have to try if your product is good or whatever. You don't have to make up for you don't have to act like you're the best horror director ever by going to Hot Topic or whatever.
Well, that's the privilege that they enjoy, my man. You know what I mean? All that white male privilege, bro.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? They don't have to sell it like that. Any other weird theories? You want to talk about the ending? The ending seems to be a big, contentious, weird thing where people don't understand it. To me, it was just,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Did you see? People are like, "Oh man, this is Greek mythology." Oh god, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
It definitely, like, I know Greek mythology, but I wasn't like familiar enough with it to be like, oh yeah, of course the story is an allegory for Prometheus. But then I heard other people's arguments for it, and like I'm sure that was factored into it. Like it's like this human steals fire from the gods and gets their knowledge or whatever, and his punishment at the end is to be eaten forever, to have his intestines eaten forever by birds. So like that definitely seems like it ties into especially the ending shot, but like in all these sort of things, like I like not having it defined. Like it kind of like really does pare down everything, and it's like, to me it's just like the depths of madness, and it's like whatever is unattainable to man to always crave and everything like that. But
it's because Eggers is very like, he downplays any weird, crazy
any like
theories. He said, "Oh, it's just two guys on an island going crazy. There's some weird sexual tension. They're getting, you know what I mean. There's just, you get lonelies. You know what I mean. So who knows? But I could see kind of maybe an Adam and Eve type thing where the tree of knowledge is the light. He's trying to be protected from the light. He's told not to go to the light. It's forbidden, right? He can't resist,
right?
Something just kind of classic things like that, right? So I don't know. I wanted, dude. I was like, oh shit, I can't wait, bro. I can't wait
right.
Because the Witch kind of had a, spoilers for The Witch. If you haven't seen it, it's been 5 years. Like, get out there. You know what I mean? But when the end, when she kind of joins the group,
right?
And you're like, oh shit, here we go. Like, this isn't just psychosomatic. This isn't wild shit. You know what I mean? Like, this has actually happened. There's witches. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
We knew there was one witch. We knew there was one crazy ass lady out there in the woods, which is horrifying. But now you have
a definitive,
of course. And I was like, here we go. What do we got? We got mermaids. What do we got? Sea monsters. What do we got? Willem Dafoe is actually the friggin' Poseidon. Like, what is going to be revealed? What is my payoff? I've sat here. I've not really enjoyed this. It's so tense and uncomfortable for me. I'm like, what is the payoff? And then just nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing, my man. So you just see a 2001: A Space Odyssey face melter as he sees the face of God or whatever he sees in there.
Yeah. It's definitely in that wheelhouse a little bit.
Yeah, but I wanted something a little bit more, man. And dude, it just bummed me out. There were scenes that just bummed me out. Watching him like kind of humiliate Willem Dafoe after he beats the shit out of him and call him a dog and makes him basically like act like a dog,
and then he like starts burying him alive,
and I just was like, shit, man, this is the arc. You know what I mean? Like, this is where we're at. It bummed me out. You know what I mean? So I was like, is he conquering? And I'm like, is he if he's the manifestation route? Is this kind of assuming he's conquering that and he's broken into full he's had a psychotic break and that he's conquered his old, kind of the mental constraint that was kind of bossing him around, and this is his way of burying him and killing him, and the whole, like, I didn't understand what did he do? I don't understand. He was trying to explain he's confessing drunkenly about killing the man or letting him die. I wasn't clear. I was like, how are you? He was like, he was swallowed up by the logs. I'm like, what does that mean?
Oh, yeah. So
swallowed up by the logs.
The dude that he stole the identity from, that was Winslow, I think.
Right. I understood that, but what actually happened to him?
That I had trouble with. I think he like fell off the logs, and instead of rescuing him, he just watched him like die or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds like a Thursday back in like the lumberjack days in the 1800s. I don't understand why this is like, oh shit, I have to abandon my former life and become a lighthouse man now?
Yeah, I didn't...
It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why that would be a thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely... I see where you're coming from with that. And, like, there was... I was surprised at... Because I definitely, compared to The Witch, I had a much easier time understanding the dialogue on this one, which is to say, I still probably didn't understand like 20% of it or something like that. But that's still much better.
I'm never going to watch it again with subtitles, but
yeah, subtitles would definitely help. I feel like, but like that's what I was expecting, because like The Witch was like, I missed
real
very
tough
large
old
chunks
English
of that. Yeah, the
stuff,
old
right?
English was very hard to decipher without the assistance or whatever. I think. The moral of the story is William Dafoe needs to not go on any trips, because clearly when you go on a trip with William Dafoe, something terrible is going to happen. Like Antichrist, he gets like his dick broken, and I'm sure there's like, I feel like William Dafoe does a lot of movies like this where it's just like him and another guy acting with a capital A at each other for a while.
Oh yeah, no. All I learned is bad luck to kill a seabird, which I had a hunch before, but now I'm convinced. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's That definitely, like, I feel like I've heard that before in sailor lore or some shit like that. So
Well, I always wonder, why don't they just start eating the birds? You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean that
You
makes
guys got
sense.
bow and arrows or something? You know what I mean? Just tie a string around and start.
Well,
They'll come to you, right?
it,
Doesn't they land on the ship?
yeah, it was weird because and once again, like that's when the movie starts to get way more surreal. But like they mentioned like kind of running out of supplies at one
Right,
point
on the ship. Remember him being out at sea? Oh, the water goes first. The water's the first thing to go.
Yeah, yeah, and
I
then
was
it's
like, ooh.
they run out of booze, so they get more booze, and then when they get more booze, they run out of that eventually, and then they're like drinking. I guess it's just like or huffing oil or something like that. Like that's
Did he drink kerosene? Right?
I think they're drinking like some sort of oil. It started to
What
remind me
was
of the
the
Master.
what was the honey when he did the honey dipper and he was that what was that?
The
When
honey
he
dipper.
pours it in and remember that? And they were like sitting at a table and they start yelling. They like he sticks the honey dipper and it's like gooey and globby and he puts it into some sort of clear liquid, either water or something, and then he stirs it around and they both take sips and then they start yelling like yeah, like they just took a like crazy shot.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
I need to rewatch it, but
Was that something for so they don't get gangrene or like or some just nonsense? I don't know.
Yeah, I just assumed from them the only things them having access to would be just like various lighthouse equipment. So I just assume it's all like chemicals for the lighthouse that they're basically getting high off of. But I'm not even sure.
You gotta
about
pass
that.
the time somehow, you know.
Yeah, I mean clearly, like I'm just. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Like for all of Eggers' work, like clearly the theme for me seems to be. Jesus Christ, I'm so glad I was born in the 21st century because
I honestly, I thought I had that exact same thought.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did people live?
I know. And this is like still pretty far into advanced civilization, so
I think that civilization is far more advanced than a lot of the civilization today.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's like it's insane to think about.
Yeah, man, it's definitely like I am so grateful for things like the internet and air conditioner and fucking I don't know, pre-rolled cigarettes and like just all the things you take for granted, not having to carry
the food pyramid, you know what I mean?
Yeah, not having to carry fucking bowls of shit out to the ocean every morning or whatever.
The bowls of shit hitting him in the face, you know what I mean, when the wind turns on him, that was great. You know, the wheelbarrow filling with water as he's ruining the coal and stuff. Yeah, it's just interesting, you know what I mean? Just it seems like a miserable life.
It was cool that they actually,
huh?
like, I heard that they, like, they found a location for this, they built the lighthouse and all of the sets, like, from the ground up. Like, Eggers knows what he wants so specifically.
No, I don't want you using any modern tools, okay? Now, these guys, they didn't have anything other than a Foursquare, whatever it's called.
Right.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine trying to build...
Yeah, it's something like 40 cubits in length with a donkey and a bushel of hay or something. Yeah,
Nope.
Well, and it's also just like, how many hours did they have to stand in the piss cold Nova Scotia, like, winds during the winter to get all those shots? So
I wonder what Pattinson prefers, because he's done the jungle, you know, with Lost City of Zed or whatever, and just being down in the, you know, wherever it was, I mean, tropical. And then just being out in the rain, getting rained on, you know, just that ocean rain. Dude, it's so cold, man.
Yeah,
Nova Scotia ocean, I just can't imagine.
Dude, like, that's, like, one of the things I like about it is, like, you feel how shitty it must be there. And then I'm sure however shitty it looked, like, it must have been so much shittier. Even though, like, I know you got people standing by with, like, coats and you're going to get dried off or whatever. Just, that's a long time to be out in shitty weather. But I did notice something because at the end when they're rolling the credits, I noticed there was a producer who was like Jonathan Volpe or something like that.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah,
but so I looked him up because I always noticed some guy in the credits of Trailer Park Boys his name was Volpe as well, and it's the same guy. Like I guess the dude lives in Nova Scotia, and that's kind of like near where they filmed Trailer Park Boys. So same dude produced this movie or whatever, so I need to make sure to use that to try to get a job one day or something.
Please. I'm Mr. Volpe's Second cousin.
Yeah. I'm the cousin from Down Country. Long
Exactly.
lost
Now,
cousin.
any other final thoughts? Any mermaids?
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about the mermaid.
Well, I mean, just I couldn't wait for that to blossom into something.
And
you know what I mean? But
never really did.
just nothing. Pretty freaky.
Yeah.
To have her just start screaming and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah. I like that, and I feel like the hallucination sequences that. Especially the ones that involved the mermaid were pretty trippy, and like the one where, Dafoe starts sprouting tentacles and shit like that. Like, I think in general, like I really like a lot of the shots with it, and it's very compelling, and like Dafoe is fucking amazing in it as always, but I still gotta hand it to Pattinson. Like I am impressed that he has been trying to take so many risks with his career lately, and I'm actually pretty stoked that he's going to be Batman. Like I'm pretty.
Here we go. Bobby Pats. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. He's I never thought I'd be interested in another Batman movie, but all the casting they're doing lately actually sounds pretty cool. And is it? I forgot his name, but is it the Cloverfield guy or the guy that did the Planet of the Apes movies?
Planet of the Apes, Matt Reeves.
Yeah. So he's a pretty decent director. So I'm actually think the new one might have some good potential to it.
I'm trying to. I can never remember his name, but the kid from There Will Be Blood is going to be the Riddler.
Nice, yeah. And Zoe Kravitz is going to be Catwoman or whatever.
Catwoman. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think she's a good pick
I'm just a little Catwoman. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've done Catwoman a lot, but
seen a lot of Catwoman.
Yeah, I mean. It would be cool if they did something really weird, like a Clayface or whatever. Get to some of the C tier villains or whatever now, since there's so many. DC sounds like they're entering a more interesting phase of their existence. So maybe there's more hope for their future movies and stuff.
There you go. You better hit the gym, and he better start eating, cause
he's a little scrawny.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So maybe that's we're going for a little bit more of I
assume they're doing
svelte Batman. Perhaps?
I assume they're trying to do closer to Batman Begins and try to go for Batman Year One type or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're excited about it. What else we got coming up? We're continuing our series of reading a book and then watching the film and then complaining about it, and explaining the differences and why they failed us again. So this next one is going to be Dr. Sleep. It's going to be the sequel to The Shining, quote unquote. Because I've read the Shining book. I just recently reread it, but it's very different from the Shining. If you've never read Stephen King's novel, they're very different, and I understand kind of why he would be upset. But Stanley Kubrick made a goddamn masterpiece, so how upset can you be? But Stephen King decided to write a sequel to his book, and it's called Dr. Sleep. And then they made a movie of that book, but it's being marketed as a sequel to The Shining, the film.
I'm very curious how that is going to work.
So what are we going to see? Yeah, what is this going to be?
I have my theories on that, but I feel like we should save that for another episode. But I do feel like they are going to tie it into the Kubrick one. Because there's too much shit in it that is clearly allusions, at least in the trailer, to the Kubrick thing. Down to it being room 237. I think that's the big key indicator. Is it's 237 in the Kubrick version. It's 217 in the King version. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a sequel to Kubrick.
Yeah, because there's major problems with the hotel not being there in the book. In the book, it burns down at the end. So the film, they're going back to the hotel. So right off the bat, I'm kind of huh.
Oh yeah, interesting. I did not know that was
just a little taste.
Yeah, well, there's a few. People. There's other things with for me, right when you start the book, there's a character that's definitely dead in the movie that's alive in the book. So I'm curious how they're going to navigate
Absolutely.
that. And
Yep.
yeah, but I think that'll make for a more interesting review for sure. Because I think they could probably find their ways around it and maybe balance the best of both worlds. And like I keep saying, I think Mike Flanagan, from what I've seen of him, is a really good director, and he might be able to pull it off. But it is a hell of a balancing act, and God knows it's like a really hard movie to follow up. So good luck to you, sir. Especially with dealing with the internet reviews, because
Yeah.
they can be
Oh, we're
vicious.
coming, bitch. We're coming for your ass. But no, people are saying it's really great. People are saying that. I know they say it every time. They say, "Oh, this is the best Stephen King book
Adaptation
since."
ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they say it every time. But this one's getting some good hype, so I'm pretty excited about it. It's not like the fake hype that people are like, "Oh, they go out and they get the low hanging fruit like horror reviewers, and they're like, oh, Pet Cemetery, it's great."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like this one's actually getting like some decent buzz, so I'm hoping that it ends up kind of being at least interesting, worth our time, and worth making us read all these books and everything. So, but
Yeah,
with that,
stop making us read Hollywood.
God damn you guys!
What's up with you?
You know what I mean? Yeah, please. So we'll go ahead and sign off. Thank you guys so much for listening to this. Please let us know in the comments. Find us at thedisorderly.com. Nick Risner is doing a series right now. If you're listening to this at the time of recording, it's like late October. He's doing a kind of weekly review discussion for each episode of HBO's The Watchmen. He's going through the comics and then talking about how the comics are kind of different from the show and kind of his theories for where it's headed. He's done the same thing with Westworld, Game of Thrones. He did. You can go back and watch all his old Game of Thrones episodes. He's done Westworld, a bunch of other series. Go back, click through, find them all. Check us out on disorderly.com, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks, guys.